All right, man. So we are back, and I am in bad shape. And so I wasn't gonna do the weekly log today. I was gonna wait and do it like tomorrow or Wednesday or whatever. It's actually Monday, July 31st. We are into week 13 now. But then I said, no, you know what? I want this to be authentic. I've wanted this to be, kind of the real deal the whole way through. So I said, no, I'm gonna do this now because this is kind of this is what it's all about. This is real life. This is what training for these shows is like. You have good days, you have bad days, and when you get near the end, you tend to have more bad days than good days. And so, all right. So that being said, let's try to keep the same framework that we normally operate from. We'll recap. We'll look forward. I'll give you guys a tip. And so the recap from last week. Pretty quickly, man. I actually dropped to 172.8, and so I was actually really, really excited to do that. It was obviously very motivating for me in the moment to get to the 172 mark, and so very encouraged by that, very motivated by that. I am still on track to give myself a shot at 168. We'll have to see how this week goes, but 162 or 172.8 last week, really happy with that. My numbers last week, honestly, guys, I don't remember what they are. I'll before this video started, like seconds before it started, I'm like, what were my numbers last week? And then I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm back in my car. I feel like rubbish. I'm just like, we're just gonna hit play and just see what happens. And so I'll look in my Excel spreadsheet. I'll put them on the screen, but I think they may have actually been a little higher than I wanted. But it doesn't matter as much because of my new strategy, kind of moving forward these next couple of weeks. And so that's kind of the recap from last week. Training is whatever. Yeah. And so, this past weekend, I was actually in Florida. So for those of you guys that follow me on social media, at JSchultzF3 on Twitter, on Instagram, those are the two primary social mediums that I'm using. You know that I was in Florida this past weekend, and I had a great time with my family, man. I had a really, really great time. And I don't train on the weekends. I don't do weight training on the weekends. So I just had to get my car pushes in on Saturday, which I did. And I actually filmed it. And so I'm going to edit that guy, and I'm going to get that guy out to you guys here probably in the next week or two. It might take me a little while to edit that, but I got my car pushes in. I got my walks in. But the trip back home yesterday with two children, my daughter 2.5, my son 4 months old, high stress, man. Just heavy, heavy stress all day. And, you combine that with I had several low days in a row that I was just not feeling good yesterday. And this kind of gets me into, kind of moving forward this week. So today was tough, man. The last couple of days were very, very difficult on me. I think that doing my car pushes on Saturday in a heat index of 105 was a lot on my system. I think it took a lot more out of me than I may have realized it would have. And so just the heat, the humidity down in St. Petersburg, I got them done. I got them in, and I'm really proud of myself, man. I did not back down. I attacked the moment like I always tell you guys to do, and I just did it, man. And that's awesome. But I think I paid the price a little bit. I think that really taxed my system. But then yesterday I'm on the plane. We get to the airport, we get checked in, we're on the plane, and I am just feeling like death. Like, for no real good reason. Like, all day I had been kind of feeling like I'm about to die. And then, when we got on the plane, I'm just sitting there, I'm like, man, why do I feel like I felt really, really bad. It was like a combination of, like, I had no appetite, and it was a low day. It was a low day coming off of several low days in Florida. While I was in Florida and kind of leading up to Florida at the tail end of last week and then the weekend, I had kind of intentionally wanted to put some low days together, or lower days together. I know what that feels like. I've done that, man, thousands, hundreds, thousands, I don't know what it is. It's a lot, man. I have a lot of experience with that. I know what that feels like. You're weak, you're tired, but you're hungry, right? Like, you want to eat, like you're craving food. Man, yesterday, I was weak. I was tired. I was drained. This is all pretty much how I'm feeling right now. I was weak. I was tired. I was drained. I had no appetite. None. Zero. I didn't want to eat anything. And I only had like, by that moment, it was like 5 o'clock. And I only had like 25 carbs so far that day. And I had like my chicken and my oatmeal dish like ready to go in my carry-on bag. And I was like, ooh, it's chicken and oatmeal time. But then I was kind of like, yeah, it's chicken and oatmeal time. And then I was kind of like, why am I viewing my chicken and oatmeal with such a negative kind of dissonance in my mind, in my heart? I was like, I gotta get to the bottom of this, because I always look forward to my chicken and oatmeal. My oatmeal and peanut butter, I mean, man, I will take no prisoners when it comes to my oatmeal and peanut butter. But I just wasn't having it. And then I kind of thought about it, and I'm like, I have felt like this before. And so back when I first started competing, so here's a funny little story and kind of some experience that I can share with you guys. I thought I knew what I was doing, and I literally had no idea what I was doing. I did so many things wrong. I mean, I still make a lot of mistakes, but I have learned a lot throughout the years. I did so many things wrong. So one of the things I used to do at the very end, and I did this for years, thinking it was the way to go. In the final week before a show, I used to cut my water to try to remove the excess water from your skin, which is like totally wrong. If you're on steroids, I think it's a little bit different. I don't know a whole lot about being on steroids. I'm not on steroids. I've never been on steroids. I actually don't know that much about it. But just in, kind of picking things up in the fitness world, obviously you hear people commenting on these guys or girls that are enhanced or assisted. If you're on steroids, I think it might be a little bit different. But when you cut water, that's not the way to remove excess water. But here's another really bonehead thing you can do. Cut your sodium. So I used to eat baby food. I'm not even making that up. I used to buy Gerber baby food, like 40, 50 jars of it, for the final few days before a show. Because most of those foods have 0 sodium. So I would only eat baby food for like 3 days. And I felt like garbage, man. Like, I felt like trash that had been sitting in the garbage can for a week. And I'm just like, I gotta do it. I gotta cut my sodium, whatever. And I always looked awful the day of the show, always. But my Neanderthal bonehead brain couldn't figure it out. I'm like, this is probably not a good idea. And so I'll get into my final week stuff here coming up in a couple of weeks, because it's coming up soon. And so I've just learned that your body needs sodium, man. And when you're training really hard, it needs a lot of sodium. And so I actually think the last couple of days, somehow, some way, I got sodium depleted, because that's kind of how I felt. And I'm just like, this is how I used to feel when I would eat baby food. I just felt really lethargic. Like, I couldn't even squeeze my muscles. Like, I would try to squeeze my muscles and like nothing would happen. My muscle would just like look back at me and be like, dude, what are you doing, dude? Like, I'm not gonna contract for you. There was just nothing there to work with. So I was weak, I was drained, I was lethargic, whatever. I still feel that way now today. Although I am feeling a little bit better, because I actually took a shot of salt water earlier, and I had a whole huge stack of pickles on my chicken at lunch today. Both of those things, like, immediately, I felt so much better. My training session this morning was terrible, because I'm like, man, why do I still feel so bad? I've had some sodium, whatever. I salted my food last night. But that kind of brings me into, well, that's going to be my tip. I'll save that for a minute. Let's talk a little bit more. I'm a little bit more jumbled today than I normally am. And so excuse me for the hot mess that I'm presenting to you guys. The sodium depleted hot mess. Let me talk about the week moving forward, and then we'll get into my tip for you guys. I'm already at 9 minutes. I kind of wanted to do this kind of quickly, and that just never happens. So moving forward. So with my weekly numbers, one of the things I'm going to do now is, rather than keeping track of my weekly averages per se, and this is kind of what I started doing last week, is I'm trying to get myself ready for that final week. And in that final week, I need to figure out how many carbs I want to load with. I need to figure out when I want to load, and I need to figure out how much I want to load. I already have kind of an idea with what I'm going to do, because that's very, very important. But to give myself an even better idea, what I'm basically doing now is I'm slashing my calories pretty significantly, so that I'm pretty depleted, for days on end. My carbs are going to average between, 60 on the low end to maybe 90 on the higher end. And I'm just going to keep going low until I get to that one day in the week. And this week, I think it might fall on Thursday. It might be Wednesday. But if it's Wednesday, I may do another one on Saturday, where I'm just going to use my high days as an opportunity for me to see exactly how my body responds. And so I want to know, how does my body respond on 150 carbs? How does my body respond on 200 carbs, 250 carbs, whatever? It's not going to be a perfect carryover because the types of foods I'm eating are going to change in that final week. And I'll talk about that. You actually have to be very careful you don't eat too much fiber in that final week. So I'm actually going to be very interested to see how my body processes carbs. So it's not going to really be about weekly averages anymore. It's going to be about, all right, let me kind of go as low as I can to get my weekly weight loss in, hopefully, and then replenish my stores and see how my body responds when I replenish. And so the second thing I'm going to do this week is I'm obviously bumping my sodium numbers up because I'm sodium depleted and I need some more sodium. But I need to know, how much sodium do I consume on an average day? I actually have no idea. I salt my foods judiciously. I mean, me and sodium, we are BFFs, man. If you guys have been watching my Meals with Macros videos, you already know this. But I love sodium, man. And I need a lot of sodium. But I want to know, like, specifically, how much sodium am I taking in per day? If I had to guess, I'd say it's maybe 3,500 milligrams, maybe 4,000. I'm not sure. I'm gonna measure it though. I want to know, because going into that final week, and specifically the day before the show and the day of the show, I'm gonna be sodium loading, and so I'm going totally. I'm taking baby food, and we are squashing that never to be done again. We're going the other side of the road. We're going sodium load, like bacon and, like, I don't know, whatever else has a lot of sodium in it. Whatever, whatever the antonym to baby food is, I guess it would be adult food. We're going adult food for those final couple of days. I probably won't eat any bacon, but you guys get the picture. And so that's kind of what I'm doing moving forward. I think I'm going to add a 7th steady state session. So I'm just doing a walk every night if I can do it. If it works with, spending time with my family and not totally ignoring them. But my wife obviously knows I'm getting really close, and she is the most supportive woman in the world, and so I think I might be able to do it. But if I gotta stay at 6, that's not that big of a deal, but I would like to push the envelope a little bit. With my weight training, man, I am just getting really near the end here. I mean, I literally and figuratively, where I don't have a lot left in the tank, and so I'm pretty much taking most, if not all, of my weights, and I'm dialing them back about 10%, just so that I can preserve whatever there is to preserve. So here's my tip for you guys. So I think I'm sodium depleted, but there's another thing that's going on. And this is what I've kind of alluded to with why you need to be strategic, and why, if you have this long cut, if you have this really long duration fat loss plan ready to go for yourself, you need to be very careful that you don't cut too quickly, too soon. Because, and I've learned all this in like the last year or two. It's really fascinating stuff. When you cut for a really long time, what happens is your body literally starts to fight against you. So like me, I'm in uncharted territory right now, right? Low 170s. I've never been this light, not as an adult. And trying to get to the high 160s, like my body, this is, every day is uncharted territory. Every day is a new adventure. And so my body is literally fighting against me. Like, I'm already pretty lean, and I'm trying to get like ultra lean. And my body's like, no, we don't want to do that. We want to survive. So some of the things that it starts to do to put itself into survival mode is a handful of things. Number one, your metabolic rate slows down. So now I'm burning calories at a slower rate, which is not good for fat loss. My testosterone levels drop significantly, which I'm actually feeling that. And I think that's also what I'm feeling these last couple of days, feeling like death. I think it's the testosterone decrease catching up with me. My thyroid hormone downregulates to also kind of match the lower metabolic rate so that my body doesn't burn up and I just, cease to exist. My cortisol levels shoot through the roof because my training demands are so high and I'm not fully recovered because my calorie intake is so low. So metabolic capacity, testosterone, cortisol. My leptin levels are really, really low, which is not good. Leptin is a hormone that makes you feel full. Leptin is very, very important for fat loss. Leptin is very, very important for keeping your hormones in check. And it's actually a big reason why you want to incorporate higher days, why you want to incorporate, call them cheats or refeeds, whatever you want to call them. They're actually really important if you want to have sustainable longer term progress. All of those things right now are stacking up literally to work against me. All of those things are working against me and fighting against my body and making each successive pound that I'm trying to lose harder and harder. And so it dawned on me yesterday on the plane. I'm like, I need some sodium. And I think I'm just at the very end of a very long, drawn out battle. And I'm okay. Like, I'm definitely gonna see this thing through the end. I mean, there's no turn back now. We passed that point weeks, months ago, maybe years ago. But I'm just aware of what I'm up against now, and it's hard, man. It's really, really hard. And each day is just a new victory. Each day brings about new challenges. And so I may go inside right now and do another glass of salt water, do another shot of salt water, because I felt instantly better when I did that earlier. And I may just start munching on a whole bunch of pickles. I don't know. Pickles don't have a whole lot of calories, so you kind of get the benefit of a sodium load without too much of a caloric impact. So, man, that's all I've got for you guys. Man, 16 minutes. Wow, I was hoping to knock this thing out in a few minutes. Man, if you guys could have some pity on me, like the video, share the video, maybe even subscribe to my YouTube channel, that'd be great. Maybe send this video to some of your friends and be like, you gotta check out this poor sap and help him out, man. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. Man, I would love, we're getting close to 50 subscribers. This is really, really cool, man. I feel very humbled and honored that you guys are watching these videos and hopefully getting something from them. Don't forget, you can always reach out to me with questions. You can email me, jschultzf3@gmail.com. I would love to talk training. And if you want to talk sodium loading, if you want to talk about baby food, if you want to talk about adult food, whatever you want to talk about, man, shoot me an email. I'd love to chat. And I'll see you guys next week. And hopefully we'll have a turnaround. But I'll see you guys then.